Yeah, good to see everybody. We got real microphones, man. We're moving on up. It's awesome. As we're gearing up for the season, to begin, my thoughts really have been they keep coming back to identity. And as fun as last year was, I don't think an identity is fully formed in 1 year. And you add players, and that fully develops over time. But beginning this Sunday, it's about how we play. And I'd like to be bold and aggressive and be strong, in these winning time moments that we work. But that has to be constant. And we need to live it over and over as we're going through it. And so that's what I want to see this week, getting that identity together and how we want to get down all the time. And so I want to still this week see it and every week from here after. But that's the one thought that keeps coming into my mind, through the camp and into the start of the season. And you just want to see that over and over. And so that was my one thought, and get rocking with you guys.
Hey, Dan, speaking of identity and what happened last year, Jaden obviously had a big year, a lot to deal with in the offseason. Guys can kind of go different directions. How have you seen him handle all this, and how can that help him going into this year?
Yeah. You guys have been around him enough to know that he has a rare focus about him, and the best players I've been around have had that, through my years. And so I think he sees it more of like opportunity, John, to say, all right, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go find ways to improve and get better. And so that's what I see, throughout the off season with him, coming into training camp. But he just keeps this focus about him that is really rare. And the best of the best have that. And that's what he does not back off of that. And he doesn't look too far down the line, which I really appreciate. He just, man, we're going to throw good practice. He just doesn't get too far, out over his skis. And I think that's one of the things I really admire about him.
The running back situation, how do you feel like that can break down? I'm sure you don't want to give away all your plans, but just how do you assess that group going into this game?
Yeah, you loved having some versatility, with the group. And I think it's no big, secret what Austin can provide in space and getting the ball in that way. That's one of his superpowers. So as we're growing that, I think it'll take, some time, John, to get into that space and who's excellent in what spaces and how do we do that. But I don't think that's in one game. But I do like this group. I really do. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. They all bring, some things to the table that's unique, special teams roles, offensive roles, and that's what I like about it. That's our job, to find the strengths and pull them out of these guys and see what they can do. And it's a fun part of the process of coaching too.
With the guys that returned last week, Terry, Noah, I know Brandon played in the last preseason game, but just in his return too. Do you expect them to be, full go on Sunday? Do you expect them to have any limitations?
Yeah, right now we'll go a full week of practice with them. And so Brandon and Terry is about as full, as they can get into this spot, the workloads, what we've hit on with them. So they'll get their normal amount, of practice and going into that. But, they're both doing, really strong in that way.
And I have a non-football question. Just with everybody back in the building, all the changes that have been made to the facility, how does that help you guys, the locker room, everything like that?
I think it helps to know that, in the spring, it was, we didn't know what could be, here. We were, in trailers for lockers and lots of shower pills. It was rough. But we thought, what could be through Josh of, creating a, championship environment. Now, all that said, it's as nice as everything is, it's still the people here that make it. And I think that's one thing that it's a lesson I'll never forget. It can be a shiny or nice, but, man, it is the people when you play a team. So when you combine them both, then it, kind of gives on both of those. There's also a lot of recovery equipment that the team invested in, and so that's one thing that the players have really benefited from, the different modalities that they have. It's really strong in that way. So when we create those times that they have, man, that whole area is really full. So that's one thing that's a real benefit from a physical side.
And every season knits itself together differently, but first 4 games, I know you take it in quarters. What do you hope this group can kind of start to stitch together this first quarter of the season?
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. I agree with you that as the team's forming, you're starting to find what people's strengths are, what needs more development, and that's kind of the constant massaging. I think early on, I want it to go only this way, and then you learn, no, man, like you have to navigate those as it goes. But going into the space, I want to make sure like our play style and attitude is right. The way that we cover kicks. I love this group, the way they can play and fast. I want to make sure our tackling is on point. I want to make sure we do the things, at the end of the halves and the end of the games that give us chances to win. So each week we talk about, what do we need to do to win this game? And it's not the same every week, but there's so much unknown in the beginning of a season that it takes a few times to really find roles, see where they go, and then develop into those roles, because it may not be what you had thought at, May 5th. And now that you're here in September, okay, this is where it's going to be. And now how do you really go nail those roles?
Morning, Coach. You referenced during the final training camp practice Mamba time. Is that a phrase that comes from you? Is that comes from the players? And what is Mamba time?
Sure. It is a specific game management time. We don't want to be in it very often, but you'd be down by more than one score. And so how do you get back in the fight quickly and then kick a field goal or try to get points before a certain time threshold, so then you don't have to rely on, at the end of the game, a score and an onside kick. So say you're down by 9 points, there might be a time at 2:50 that you want to go kick the field goal, kick it off, play defense, get it back. So it's a strategy that we have to put ourselves through. I think early on in my coach career, I didn't want to talk about, 4-minute or losing or Mamba time, but the hell with that. That's going to happen. And you want to find ways to go fight and be ready for it. But it was a term that we had come up with last year. I think it was Baltimore. We were in the space like that, kicked a field goal to the end. And so I think so many times we've all seen the offense keep trying to go down and score, and then there's 30 seconds left, the onside kick. We know the percentages aren't so good for that. So we just said that sometimes you may have to fight to get a score before the time threshold takes a hold of you. So that's what Mamba time is.
Dan, to your right. Nick, you mentioned the locker room, which is like a commitment to the players, showing that,
yes,
that you care about their well-being. I wonder if that's part of making this place a destination, and what you heard from free agents or even like Debo, who you traded for, about being excited to come here because of what you are building.
Yeah, and that really is from Josh first. And like a championship environment, it's a lot of things. It's the attitude, it's the people, it's the space, and I think you're showing regard for the players in that sense to make sure the locker room. And I want you guys to see the meeting rooms as well, from a learning environment, what that could be. So could we make the areas where the players are spending, the most of their time really strong for them? And but that's really from Josh. Hey, I really want to send the message of, like, this is how we're going to do business moving forward. And it did make a big difference for sure.
Dan, you're a defensive line guy. What stands out about the Giants' defensive front?
A lot. And I think the speed, I really am impressed by that. I like the action. I like, their investment into that group. They've got, Dexter, who's got great size and power, and they got speed out on the edges. So I think probably the combination of the two is what I like about them. When you have 3 jets that you can use in different spots, you can try to create matchups to do that. And so I sense that's, where they're headed, but it's a really strong group.
From the last game to now, for the head coach, has it been a long time, or did it go quickly for you in what you guys tried to accomplish here? From Eagles to now.
Eagles game, yes. Thank you for not bringing up the other ones, yes. Like most things, there's a process, that you want to go through to get there. And the after actions are important. You don't want to lose the pain of a game like that. So there was lessons that you wanted to take from it. You hear us talk about turnover margin so often that, maybe like, oh, again, but it's such an important part of what we do. But then, it was about, we met after the season. I can still remember sitting with Adam and talking to so many players about coming back who were free agents. And I think that's when it clicked for me. I think you're just in the fight, but then it came to me, they want to be part of this. They recognize an identity started, and friends and family may have asked, like, how do you replicate that or duplicate that, and ask questions. And you guys ask that question a lot too. But my response to them was, I don't want to replicate it. I want to build off it. And I want this to be the start of it. And that's why the identity piece, Chick, was so important for me, because it's the growing of it and the building of it. But it was probably in that moment after the loss, we met with the X number of players that were unrestricted free agents, and you could just feel that to come back. And so to Adam and his team to get so many of those guys back into the mix, then trades, then to that, it took a lot of time and effort to connect all the players. But it's been also a lot of fun to get to know some of these new guys. Like coaching Debo is fun, and Kinlaw and Will Harris, and getting to know Jonathan Jones, how thoughtful he is about playing and why he's been so good. And so I could name a number of guys, but those are just a few that come to mind. I love the draft part of an off season because you learn about the players, you learn what unique things they are, and then training camp is getting your team ready. So it's been a lot, but I think of it like in these bite-sized spots, this and then into this and then into this, and I don't think of it in the totality. When I was doing the free agency, I wasn't thinking about the draft, and the draft I wasn't thinking about training camp. I just try to really stay in that space and live in it. I don't want to miss it.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
When Austin signed here last year, he kind of shared with us in his introductory press conference that one of the reasons he came here is because he understands he's not kind of that bell cow guy, and he needs to be part of a rotation and all that stuff. Certainly can lead the group. But how much of that fact was kind of a factor in keeping four backs on the 53?
It was that. It was special teams. And I just think, David, it's different than it was, 3 or 4 years ago. And we'll see how many more teams are covering and returning kicks. That is it going to be as high as ours was in terms of covering? I don't know. But I do think the safeties and the running backs are sometimes your most hellified special teams guys, and have spaces to go and make impact based on their speed and toughness. So those two positions often are right in the middle of it all, and the return game especially.
Coach, you've been around the start of an NFL season many, many times, but what makes week one still so special to this day, and how do you help prepare the guys for that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's awesome. And I think you're stepping out on that journey together. That's what week one means to me. We all know that, there's a long season. We'll have lots of these, lots of games, but there is a stepping off point that, okay, it's time. And you felt that energy. It just happens. And you feel it in the building. You feel it in the room. And like I said, it takes a while for your team to really be who you can be. And the best of the best teams will be a hell of a lot better towards the end of the season than they are today. That's their skills, their execution, and we'll work hard to do that. But there is a fun time of doing something like, we've really put it in together, and let's step off. Let's go into this thing together.
Dan, as you get this thing going for real on Sunday, what determines a successful season in your eyes?
Throwing a great first game, honestly. It's like so far away from me, to think that far ahead. I just want to make sure, as we're building our program here, identity, and to be that, you have to do a lot of things to sustain it. There's a certain attitude and way that you play. We're bold. We want to be aggressive. So we have to do all those things. And if we do them right and hit the markers in that spot, that will be a successful season. But I'm not into the comparing, of what was here, what's now. I had a blast doing it with that team, and now it's this one. And I don't want to look back and look forward and look back and look forward. I just want to absolutely go for it with this crew.
Hey, Dan, and just curious over here.
Gotcha.
You coaches and players, you work so hard every day in your careers striving to, win a championship. You guys got so far last year, the success you had last year. How do you balance, as for your players, like going into the season, talking to them about, okay, we're capable of going the distance here, but we have to focus on like the process. Like, how do you manage, those expectations and going into a season like that?
Yeah, we really don't look too far ahead, and we have to stay that way. It's not that you have blinders on. I get that, and the expectations of things really comes from the outside. But if we're really going to be who we want to be, like, we're the ones that have to challenge ourselves to see how far we can take it, or how high our standards can go. That's practice habits, that's technique, that's skill, that's a mindset, that's an attitude. So it's all of those things. So if we have to think that the season doesn't begin until January, we'll miss it. We'll miss all of it. And there's way too much fun to do. So we just, we throw it 1 week at a time. And I know that's like super cliche, but we really do try to live that way. Every team we go, it's going to be a matchup. And here it is, right, the first game, division game, had one that was a walk-off field goal and one that was within a one-score game. So, like, when you play a division game, you're ready to get down right off the bat. And so I think it's kind of cool with the NFL. There's a lot of them this week, but it is even extra special, I would say, when you get to do it with the division team right off the bat and go fight for it. All right. See you, everybody. Great sound system, Sean.